Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavad Pranam devotees, Madhavatiti Ekadasi Ti Jai for those who are following Ekadasi today. There's a couple of short questions that were asked. One was in relation to kind of what I spoke on my last video that dealt with the nature of Sambandha Gyan. It's a question in relation to our Diksha mantras. So what I can explain to some degree, particularly about the sequence, that was part of the question. I'll try to answer that by the grace of Sri Guru and Gauranga. And the other question was a young couple. They asked about something they had heard, which was that the Gaudiya Math was kind of like a different sampradaya from our ISKCON society. So I'm not exactly sure what the source of that information was, but it's not technically correct. The sampradayas are 4 Vaishnav lines that we recognize. Sampradaya in general can mean any line of succession in which knowledge is passed down. This is a generic description. It can be called a sampradaya. But the Shastra, Padma Puran especially, is given description that sampradaya vihinaye mantraste nishvalamata atto kalo bhavishyanti chatvaro sampradayano Shri Brahma Rudra Sanako Vaishnavao Kshiti Pavana. That in the Kali Yuga especially there are 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Chatusana or 4 Kumara Sampradaya. Each of them have a major acharya that represents the line of teaching coming from each of those Sampradayas. In the Brahma Sampradaya, the Sri Madhvacharya. In the Sri Sampradaya, Sri Ramanujacharya. In the Rudra Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami. And in the Chatusana or 4 Kumar Sampradaya, Nimbaditya or Nimbarka Acharya. So these are the 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. Our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's directly Bhagavan. But to teach the world regarding the importance of following a genuine Sampradaya, he accepted the Madhva Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, and therefore we're sometimes called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya. So, Sri Madhavinda Puripad, he directly came in the line of Sri Madhvacharya. But in Madhavinda Puripad, and even in the Guru of Madhavinda Puripad, Sri Lakshmipati Tirtha, a Braj mood had arisen in their heart in a deep way. Especially Sri Madhavinda Puripad not only expressed the depth of a Braj mood, but the unique specialities of Madhurya Rasa, and especially the mood of separation within Madhurya Rasa. So these are all unique moods that had come into the heart of Sri Madhavinda Puripad. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted this line because Ishwara Puripad, he was a disciple of Madhavinda Puripad. So Mahaprabhu accepted this line especially in part because of this feature of Sri Madhavinda Puripad. Now of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being Bhagavan, Dhammastu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, that Mahaprabhu has no need to accept any sampradaya. He is in fact Bhagavan himself, and all dharma, all teachings emanate from Bhagavan. So, but to give this teaching in his Leela as a devotee, because Bhakti Bhav Angikari and Shikamu Shabhari, he accepted the form of devotee to teach by his example how we should practice bhakti, inclusive of accepting initiation in a bona fide sampradaya. So Mahaprabhu, he took two things from each of the sampradayas. From the Brahma Sampradaya, or Madhav Sampradaya, he took the complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy and the acceptance of the eternality of the deity or the worshipable Murti in the temple. From the Ramanuja Sampradaya, he took the importance of service to the Vaishnavas and the practice of bhakti free from karma and gyan. From Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, he took the absolute idea of being saranagat or fully surrendered to Krishna, and also the practice of Ragmarg. And from the Nimbadicha Sampradaya, he took, or this is the Chatusana Sampradaya, the mood of the gopis and their mode of worship, and especially the high esteem for Srimati Radharani. Mahaprabhu synthesized all of these teachings, Sudadvait, Vasishtadvait, Dvaitadvait, and Advaitvad. These are four of the Vaishnava Sampradayas, and there are four philosophical theses. And he synthesized them into the absolute divine teaching of Achintya, Bhed, Abhed, Tattva, or simultaneous, oneness and difference. Goswami Vargas have flushed this out in all of their writings in a very absolute and complete way. So this is the situation in terms of what is a sampradaya. After the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of the personal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also there were many lines of succession coming from those personalities. They were all called Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The importance of Gauda Desh is because of the present. Gauda Desh means the area of Bengal, right? It included Bangladesh at that time, etc. But the importance of that place is just like in UP in India, the importance of the place of our holy Dham, Sri Vrindavan Dham, or Mathura Mandal, is a direct descent of the original spiritual Dham. Similarly, in Gauda Desh, in Bengal, there's a direct descent of the Ordhogya Dham, means that Vrindavan, when it becomes magnificent and very merciful, it descends as Gaura Dham, or Sri Navadvip Dham, and Sri Mayapur. Right? Mayapur is the center of this Navadvip Dham. So, for this reason, the Vaishnavas who came by the inspiration of the descent of Mahaprabhu, they are called Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Those Gaudiya Vaishnavas, their object of worship is not only Sri Navadvip Dham, but they see Sri Navadvip Dham as now different from Sri Vrindavan Dham. I mentioned earlier, it is the magnificent manifestation of Sri Vrindavan Dham. But Sri Vrindavan Dham is the goal of those who worship in Sri Navadvip. Their goal is to obtain Braj. That Braj can be obtained by the realization of Braj in Navadvip, or by literally going to Braj, which many Gaudiya Vaishnavas did. Many settled at the most holy place of Sri Radha Kund, right? And also during Mahaprabhu's Leela, he demonstrated the importance of this because he sent all of our Goswamis, Burgab Goswami, Loknath Goswami, Rup Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatt, Raghunath Das Nath, but Gopal Bhatt, he sent all to Vrindavan to excavate the Leela stands of Vrindavan. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was kept in Sri Jagannath Puri with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because it's through him that the diary or Kadach of Sri Swarup Damodar, containing many of the deep philosophical conceptions in Leela of Mahaprabhu, would become a manifest writing called Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who would be given the order by Nityananda Prabhu to go to Vrindavan, and he stayed at Radha Kund with Sri Raghunath Das Goswami and heard from the Kadach of Sri Swarup Damodar, and from that he compiled, along with the writing of Vrindavan Das Thakur of Chaitanya Bhagavat, he compiled what he described as those things not covered by Vrindavan Das Thakur. That became Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, the lines that descended from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from his associates like Advaita Acharya, directly Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, so many, Vikeshwar Pandit, so many associates, they became known as Pariwars. Parivar really translates as family. And there are some who claim some seminal relationship to the lines coming from Mahaprabhu, but primarily it indicates those who came by disciplic succession from one of the associate lines of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that line, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also appeared in that line, coming especially from Janavama. And Srila Gorakshwaras Babaji Maharaj, though he came from the line of Advaita Acharya, still Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur recognized, in my Guru Bhai Prem Prayojan Prabhu, some years ago I heard him speak on this, and of course it's written in the one book of my Gurudev, Prabandha Panchakam. He's written about the glory and the necessity of understanding Sri Bhagavat Parampara. I would recommend, I think Sri Prem Prayojan had done actually a very pretty expansive explanation on the podcast of Namras Prabhu, which I could recommend you read. But he's also done classes on it before and so forth and so on. I heard the classes years ago, and also I had read, obviously, in the book of my Guru Pada Padma about what this Bhagavat Parampara was not created by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur illuminated the teaching of Bhagavat Parampara, which exists in our Sastra and Srimad Bhagavatam, and certainly has been acknowledged by our Goswami Varga, by Shiv Jiva Goswami Pad, especially in Bhakti Sandarbha and Paramatma Sandarbha. So, it was not an invention of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. My point here being, he recognized that the sampradaya of illumination of the vichar of Sriman Mahaprabhu is as important as the Pancharatrik Diksha, meaning one guru to disciple line. So it is not that the Bhagavat Parampara is void of Pancharatrik Diksha. There is a synthesis between Pancharatrik Diksha and maintaining, however, the importance of the illumination of the conception staying intact. So these are the two things that are especially important in the Bhagavat Parampara. Right? So, our Srila Prabhupada, he came in the line of the Bhaktivinoda Dhara, and especially the line of his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in order to provide a facility by which two things could happen. One was that to fulfill the desire of his father and Harinam Guru, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose great inspiration was to fulfill the prophecy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prithviya Cheyata Nagarari Gram Savatra Pracha Hoibe Mornam, that Sri Harinam, meaning all the conceptions of Harinam, should be spread to every town and village, not only in India but all around the world. So we know Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur took up that mantle very seriously, writing many books in English and even exporting books into Canada and other places to McGill University. He prayed also for someone who would become an extension of his power to accomplish that prophecy of Mahaprabhu. And of course, it's recognized that our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was directly Nayana Muni Manjari, descended to this world for that purpose. After doing very staunch bhajan, sadhan, not to mention the natural reality of his being a Nityasiddha, but doing staunch bhajan in his Acharya Lila, then receiving both the mercy and blessings of not only our Guru Vargas, but of directly Sachinandan Gaur Hari and his associates, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started the Gaudiya Mat. The Gaudiya Mat was the place in which two things would be primary. One is the emphasis on the illumination that comes from the pure conception of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it was not just dependent on guru-disciple, but we needed to keep the pure illumination of the teachings of Vichardhara of Sriman Mahaprabhu intact. So this is how he described our Guru Parampara. Even if you see that there are gaps historically from one person to another, the conception is consistent. And that's the important thing. The important thing is the conception. If you have a line of succession, and I'm not saying every line of succession is like this, but if you have any line of succession which is more dependent on the external fact of Guru Diksha to one Sishya, then that Sishya becomes Guru, then gives it. If it's completely dependent on that, more than the illumination, then there could be some fault that comes down in the conception. You understand? So it becomes very important to keep the conception alive. You understand? Just like we know that Shukdev Goswami did not give Diksha to Sut Goswami. Vyas did not give Diksha to Shukdev Goswami. You understand? So Narada Muni did not give Diksha to Vyas. So, anyway, that point being made, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established the Gaudiya Math for that reason, for the purity of the conception to stay intact, and also to be the manifestation of the process and the application of the teachings in such a way that it could be exported to the entire world. The nature of the practice within the traditional pariwars was not something that would have been exportable, so to speak, to the Western world. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his initiation of the Gaudiya Math, which was like a training institution for the pure conceptions of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also the pure teachings of all scripture. All scripture is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Artam Brahmasutranam Bhat Atyam Ninoya Gayatri Bhasha Ruposo Vedanta Paribramrita. So Ved Sastra, Vedanta Sastra, Itihasas like Mahabharata, and even the essence of all mantras like Gayatri Mantra, the expansion and revelation of those are present in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted that the pure Vidvadrudi conception, Vidvadrudi means the pure manifestation of the conceptions given in Srimad Bhagavatam would be made available. Not the information content, not the dharmic ideas, but the pure realized conceptions which are all geared towards teaching what is pure Bhagavat Prem, that those would be made available. So the Gaudiya Math was an institution in which the Vidvadrudi of the Shabda Brahman of Srimad Bhagavatam could be on a continuum manifest. In other words, the pure teaching and the illumination of the Shabda Brahman of those teachings, right, could be manifest in the world on a continuum. So by giving that to many stalwart followers and disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that in fact became true. Among those disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which were many stalwart disciples, our Srila Prabhupada, Nitya Leela Pravishtom Vishnupada Paramsastu Tarasisimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj, our Srila Prabhupada, was the beneficiary of the order, the Agyay, to take this pure conception to the rest of the world via Harinam. So, our Srila Prabhupada marinated and digested that order for many years in the Rasa Stali of Vrindavan at the Sri Radha Damodar temple under the guidance of Sri Rup Goswami and Sri Jiva Goswami, and then after many years of maturation in his depth of desire to fulfill the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he prophesied and to carry out the order of his Gurudev, then begging the empowerment of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he crossed the ocean and became the emissary and the manifest fulfillment of that prophecy spoken from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Our Srila Prabhupada started a mission just as after the Samadhi Leela of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, many transcendental pastimes took place that would allow the flowering of all of the stalwart disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to manifest their prabhav, their influence, and their greatness in the dissemination of the teachings of bhakti. That was primarily throughout India. Our Srila Prabhupada carried that mantle into the Western world. But the Gaudiya Math became the root of all the different missions. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, and of course the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So Our Srila Prabhupada did not, quote, divorce, neither did any of the missions divorce themselves from the root conception of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, called Gaudiya Mat, which I described earlier, but rather they simply expanded the conception to broaden the preaching and avail more people to be able to access it. Of course, our Srila Prabhupada did yeoman's work in manifesting it all around the world. My own Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishto Vishnu Pada Paramasasto Tarasata Sisimat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he was very instrumental in assisting our Srila Prabhupada in opening the treasure chest of those teachings around the world. Our Srila Prabhupada, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested the jewel of all of the highest qualities of teachings of the nature of pure prema. But it mentions there, Yan Kali Rupa Sharira Nadarata Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Kutarika, that those teachings were locked inside the chest. And if it had not been for Sri Rupa Goswami Pad, who opened the chest of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then took out all the jewels and widely distributed them, no one would have been able to access these teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu. In the same way, our Srila Prabhupada had the treasure chest of those same teachings, but they were kind of locked in the mystery of the many things that we all did not understand. I came to the process of bhakti in 1972, and I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books and going to classes, and I joined the ashram in 1975 and everything. And there were many things which I was able to glean and try to practice, of course, sincerely. But there were many things which I believe went over the head of many people. Of course, there were many who maybe did not want to openly manifest the fact that, yeah, there are many things here which we can't understand or we cannot glean. They're very deep teachings. And in our 1, 2, 5, 10, 11 years, and 12 years at the most, if you had the direct association of Srila Prabhupada, and then even in succeeding years, in the absence of Srila Prabhupada's direct association to make correction and so forth, many still were left with, well, we're practicing, we have some understanding, but not completely. And of course, anugatya is the essential principle in the practice of bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad is told, the first 4 angas of bhakti, Guru Padasraya, Tata Diksha Shikshari Vishrambena Guru Seva, and then following the path of sadhus. So anugatya is not something that ends when our particular guru enters samadhi. Anugatya is an eternal principle of the practice of bhakti. Krishna Bhakti Janmo Hoy, Mula Hoy, Sadhu Shanga, Krishna Prema Janme Teno Puna Mukanya. Even when prema bhakti is arisen, and one enters into Vastu City, in the spiritual realm, in the Prakat Lila of Krishna, one still needs to have association. I mentioned this in the last question and answer session, the association of the Nitya Siddhas in their particular mood. So anugatya is not a principle that is given up once you, quote, either attain bhakti or, quote, have a guru and then guru into samadhi. So my Guru Pada Padma became for many, many stalwart disciples and followers of our Srila Prabhupada and illuminating principles around the teachings of our Srila Prabhupada. Certainly many stalwart disciples of our Srila Prabhupada also manifested that. There are many strong followers of our Srila Prabhupada and disciples who also were able to, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and also continuing in anugatya with senior Vaishnavas, were able to illuminate the teachings. Understand? So the Gaudiya Mat is the root of all of the other missions of the stalwart disciples of Srila Prabhupada. It is not a separate sampradaya. The teachings are 100% the same. The application for preaching may be different from one situation to another. In other words, obviously there may be adjustments and nuances in application of philosophical principles to allow it to be digested, especially in the worldwide community, as opposed to being in the culture of India where there's so many givens, so to speak. The given of what is a sadhu, the given of what is the culture of devotion. and so forth and so on. And even though it might not be, and it is in part definitely corrupted by Kali Yuga, still there's a foundational element of the ability to operate in a certain paradigm in India that could not have been digestible in the rest of the world. So the application of the teachings to make them digestible and make it fruitful for those who were able to pick up with some faith either from a previous life or faith they acquired in this life to take up the practice, that was the genius, ingenuity, empowerment, and great love and affection of our Srila Prabhupada. So the Gaudiya Math as a whole is not another sampradaya. Neither are either the individual missions separate sampradayas. They're all one teaching coming in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Prabhu and Didi, hopefully that was helpful for you to understand. And also, it's important because sometimes on the basis of that misunderstanding, a great deal of sectarianism has arisen and has been justified on that basis, that actually the teachings are different. Actually, it's a different sampradaya, and so forth and so on. I actually heard this from a Siksha disciple of mine recently, that they heard it, right? But then you wrote and asked the question. I didn't address it previously because she knows, and she's able to explain. But I'm happy to be able to have the opportunity, and also hopefully the contribution of other senior devotees can chime in. Certainly, that's why I do these things, as I always mention on this forum, to clarify this point, that we are one family of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The nuances of application to create a mission and to successfully preach the mission, that's not the same as saying there's a different sampradaya, a different philosophical conclusion, or different Siddhantic basis for what we do and how we do it. All right, a second question that had come in was regarding some things to do with the last question and answer session I did, and I spoke about Sambandha Gyan and the need to understand the Diksha mantras and the real meaning of the Diksha mantras in terms of what they were meant to accomplish. So I quoted the verse of Srila Jiva Goswami's verses quoted in Bhakti Sandarbha. Divya Gyanam Yantra Shimanti Mantre Bhagavat Sarup Gyanam Tena Bhagavat Sambandha Visesh Kananscha. So here Jiva Goswami Prabhupada is mentioning that the reception of the Diksha mantras and the giving of the Diksha mantras by the Diksha Guru are meant to create Sambandha Gyan with the worshipable objective of one's aspiration. In other words, we have to have some aspiration in our worship. The very meaning of the word sadhana, this is described by Rupa Goswami. Kriti sajja bhavat sajja bhavasa sadhanabhida nitya siddhisha bhavasa prakrita midi sajjata. When engaging the external senses under guidance in the service of Krishna with the objective of obtaining a nitya siddha bhav, this is called sadhana. If there is no sadhya or goal, it cannot truly be called sadhana. Right? So it is like, I don't know, it would be called niyama agraha for sure. It means it's like ritualistic practice. In some cases, it may even fall within the realm of just karma, meaning punya karma, auspicious activities done, because there's not a clear conception of what the practice is to obtain. If a person goes to university, there's some basic conception that I'm getting an education, and the education will afford me a better opportunity at the conclusion of my studies. But even, especially those who go to university with a specific intent in mind to acquire a particular career, that is really the, I would say, maximum use of going to university. Right? Just like when I got out of high school, not to mention the rough high school years, so I had to go to prep school afterwards. But anyway, when I went to college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Right? I just chose whatever was prestigious. I remember going to the administration office, and I had to speak to a counselor. I said, so what do you want to do? I said, well, pre-med. I had no idea or intention I wanted to be a doctor or anything. I just thought it was prestigious, so I just said it, right? And then she informed me, well, this is a really, really tough path to follow, and You'll probably have to do some remedial courses and a whole bunch of things. And of course, my social agenda at the time didn't accommodate that. So then I just, okay, let's do some other major. Right now, so anyway, I don't want to detract from the conversation. The point being that actually intention in the practice is very important. And that intention comes from Sambandha Gyan. It means having a particular idea both of what it is you're trying to accomplish, what is my worshipable objective, and what is my relationship to that worshipable objective. Those things are given in a seed form in the Diksha mantras. We should also understand that from whom we receive the Diksha mantras, if they're bona fide Sadguru, then this is indication of a praktanic samskar. It means a previous samskar or impression of that same mood, which is being reiterated to deepen the samskar until the samskar becomes prominent in the heart and become recognizable by the aspirant. You understand? In other words, the aspiring devotee, they may go through many lifetimes of receiving the mantras, but they're unable to catch or resonate with the internal intent of the mantra. But the impression still grows each lifetime until they're able to hear the mantra, and then from the depth of the impressions, the resonance with the teaching in the mantra and the revelation in the mantra begins to manifest in their consciousness. Understand? So, this is the importance of Sambandha Gyan. All of the mantras, because the other question was about the sequence of the mantras run in a sequence of the unfolding of how our perfection takes place. By Guru Pada Shraya, the mantra becomes effective. Because if the mantra is not heard from Guru, then the mantra doesn't have any efficacy. Understand? So, in the very first mantra, which in traditional Gaudiya Mat teachings is given to men, and I'm going to explain this also now quickly, that the Brahma Gayatri, which is given to men, is not absent in its essence from women in Gaudiya Mat. In the Padma Purana, it is clearly stated that the Brahma Gayatri, just like seeing the success of the personified Vedas, if you read that chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, the prayers of the personified Vedas, among their prayers was the prayer to become like the gopis. Also it's mentioned, I mentioned the other day, Gopyastu Shrutayo. So Gopyastu Shrutayo means that the Shruti, means the Vedas, obtain the positions in their maturation and prayers to become gopis in Vrindavan. So Gayatri, or the Veda Mata, the essential mantra in the Vedas, prayed, I also want that success. So doing great austerities, that Veda Mata Gayatri became Kam Gayatri, which is a gopi in Vrindavan also. You understand? So the sequence of the mantras for men begins with Brahma Gayatri. Right? Srila Prabhupada also, this is one of the nuances I spoke about of application. Because one of the things that the Brahma Gayatri is meant to do is to break the Purushabhiman by declaration of an aspirational goal. And then before reciting it, a lot of times, I don't know if this is universal. I know in the Gaudiya Mat it is that they recite the Bhuta Suddhi. Bhuta Suddhi means Naham Vipro Nananapati Napivashona Sudro. It declares I'm not part of anything within the material world. Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayo Dasa Das Anudas. My aspirational goal for realization is to become Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayo Das Das Anudas. So I'll explain that perhaps on another video. It's a very deep explanation. But essentially it's declaring the ideal that you want to accomplish. So after reciting that, one states that goal in the form of Brahma Gayatri mantra. That beyond the material, I'm not going into detail here obviously, but going beyond the material plane into the spiritual plane, one recognizes the highest realm of divinity there and their Shakti and their Leela, right? So the highest capacity of Savitur is Surya Narayan. Surya Narayan, highest capacity is Shri Krishna himself. Then his own energy is manifest there. Bhargava means the Shakti of Bhagavan, and Devasha means Divyati, means their Leela. So this is the highest aspirational goal that's aspired for by the practitioner. So that goal is stated. and then the prayer for illumination of intelligence to understand how to obtain that goal. Then, in order to obtain that goal and to have one's intelligence truly illuminated, one begs for the mercy of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan grants the mercy. So, this is expressed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmana Brahmati Konna Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Poi Bhakti Lata Bij. One approaches Guru, Rupa Goswami's instruction, Guru Parashraya Tata Diksha Ashikshadi. So, approaching Shri Guru by surrender, the second mantra, and then the Guru Gayatri mantra, recognition that the Guru is actually the agency of Bhagavan, and the Guru also is the eternal guide. So the statement of Narottam Das Thakur, Chaku Dhana Diloye Janami Janami Prabhu say that my Guru Dev is an eternal guide, and in my perfection I will see my Guru Dev, Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhai, Yadali Biya Yuktira Pekshaniya, as my Guru Rupa Saki. In other words, that eternal guide in the spiritual realm as well. You understand? Then we have to enter into that aspirational goal for service in the divine realm to Radha and Krishna through Gaur Lila. Gaur Lila is the magnificent, merciful manifestation of a Braj in order to both attract and to train and to reveal the nature of Vrindavan Dham. So this happens through Gaur Lila. Without entering Gaur Lila, it's not possible to enter the Lila of Radha and Krishna. Yata yata pada gora padara vinde. What is this verse? Yata yata gora padara vinde. Nija bhakting kritta punya rasi. Without coming under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gaur Lila, nobody can enter. Gaurangera Rasunave Setaranga Jabe Dube Shri Radha Madhav Antaranga. You cannot enter into Brajadham without coming to Gaur Lila. You understand? So then Gaur Mantra and Gaur Gayatri recited Gaur Mantra in giving Saranagati, because Saranagati is the only way to obtain the practice of bhakti. Prahlad Maharaj told in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shravan Kirtan Vishnu Smaranam Parana Sevanam Archanam Vandam Dasya Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsa Prita Vishnu Bhaktaschin Nava Lakshan. To practice these 9 angas of bhakti, one has to do Iti Pumsa Prita Vishnu, means Saranagati. Anukulyasya Sankapa, Pratikulyasya Vivajanam, Lakshishati Vishwas, Guptavevaranam Tata, Atma Nikshep Kalpanya, Saranga Saranagati. So one has to follow this principle of Saranagati, then one can enter the practice of bhakti. So Guru Mantra is that Saranagati, Gaur Mantra, that Saranagati to Mahaprabhu. Then Gaur Gayatri unfolds, declaring that that absolute goal you wish to obtain has manifest completely in its pinnacle form in Gaur Lila Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then from Gaur Mantra and Gaur Gayatri, one enters into Gopal Mantra. And the Gopal Mantra is the declaration, as all the mantras have this element in it of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So I'm not speaking clearly what those things are here because, again, this is a public forum. But the Gopal Mantra directly declares these things. In the mantra, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan are declared. The suitable prayers that unfold or fluff out that fact is the prayers Jayatam Surato Pangora Mama Mandana Matir Gati Matsavasa Parambajo Shirada Madana Mohano Divyat Vrindavanaranya Kalpadurur Mada, etc. Then Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambi. These 3 prayers flush out what is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. They are fully present in the Gopal Mantra. By the Gopal Mantra, one realizes Kam Gayatri. So they're not like a separate mantra. The Gopal Mantra, the concluding realization of the Gopal Mantra is Kam Gayatri. You understand? This is kind of explained in Brahma Samhita, in Brahma's own unfoldment. Having received Gopal Mantra, he entered into a position of intimacy, and by that Gopal Mantra, he realized Kam Gayatri. So Kam Gayatri is mentioned, I can mention, because it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Ramananda Samvad. Apakrita Navina Madin, what is this verse? Vrindavane, Apakrita Navina Madam, Kam Bij, Kam Gayatri, Yan Upasan. So the Upasan of the Kam Gayatri is to obtain a position of service in relation to Vrindavane, Apakrita Navina Madan. So there are many deep explanations regarding this. I'm not doing those here on a public forum. But the Kam Gayatri then is the pinnacle of the sevak's aspiration. And the last word in each of the mantras describes the prayer for the fulfillment of those realizations. Pracho Udayat. Prakrishrupain Udayat. May the full manifestation appear within my chitta. Understand? Or within my heart. So this is why the sequence is set up the way it is. And also, one has to hear from their own Gurudev the Guru Dhyan. In other words, what is the meditation that flows through? The prayers that I mentioned are helpful to imbibe the meditation mood that's inherent in each of the mantras, right? Because in each mantra you repeat Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. You understand? But to understand how they are in the Gopal mantra, then those three prayers that I gave, they explain what is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Understand? So, and then to hear particularly Guru Dhyan, it means the indication of the Swarup of Guru to instill inspiration in the heart of the Sishya in following their Gurudev on that particular path of service. Because Visay Sambandha Dhyan means to give a kantik or one-pointed mood of upasana, one-pointed, mood of worship and service. If there's a very generic approach to the idea of service, then there's no particular goal in mind. And it's not that, well, just like if you're going to university, I'm going to use the same simile I used before. If you go to university and take liberal arts, you will not graduate with a degree in engineering or law or medicine. You understand? You have to take up that specific field in order to accomplish that particular thing. So similarly, the idea that Bhagavan is all the various avatars, Ramadi Mutishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan, I mentioned this last week, that he's all avatars and he's Swayam Bhagavan, and I'll worship him as that, does not engender resonance with the specific mood inherited in the mantra from Sri Guru. This is called Visay Sambandha Gyan. Jivara Supaya Krishna Das is constitutional, or it's called Samanya Sambandha Gyan. Jiva Goswami told, Dasabhuti Hari Eva Nanyasheva Kadachan. Everybody's the servant of Krishna. It doesn't matter, even if you're in the depth of Maya, you're a servant of Krishna because you cannot be something else. Everything else that's presented is an illusion. Artayatam yat parayeta na parayeta chatmani tadvyaratmano mayam in the Chatur Shloke. So you can't be something else. So what the Diksha mantras are doing is declaring who you are. Since you've turned towards trying to serve Bhagavan, how you want to serve. The particular taste in a particular service comes from impressions in the association of a sadhu. So a lot of times there was debate about whether or not a particular mood is already inherent in the jiva and so forth, so on. So there was a lot of misunderstanding about that because there's different angles of vision, right? And one of our stalwart contemporary acharyas, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, when he was asked about this, he made this statement very clearly. It depends on drishtikon. Drishtikon means the angle of vision. If a person has already become realized, their realization is in nityavatmanakal. It means it's in eternal time. So from that angle, whatever you are, you've always been, right? But from the unfolding process, our acharyas have mentioned the processes that you receive the impression in the association of a sadhu. That impression grows from hearing and chanting. Malikanase bija ropan, shravan kirtane jale, koriye shekon. Mahaprabhu Sanatana Goswami, when the seed of bhakti is planted, it is watered by shravan kirtan. Shravan and kirtan give rise to true smaran. Right? Because Shravan and Kirtan purifies the consciousness, gives rise to true Smaran. In true Smaran, one can take up the true mood of Padasevan. You understand? And the Dasyam becomes Visesh Dasyam, a particular mood of being a servant. Then the Archan, the practice in the particular Sambandha Gyan you have, Archanam, Dasyam, what is it? Shravan Kirtanam, Smaranam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. Dasyam, Sakyam. Sakyam means the Vishramba of the particular mood you have, because our objective is worship in Braj. And worship in Braj cannot be done by the Aishwarya Mayi mood that is inherent in general Dasya Rasa. Sakale Jagater Mori Vari Bhakti Brajabha Paiti Nahi Shakti. Also, what is this verse? Aishwarya Gyani Sakale Jagater Mori Mishri Aishwarya Shaitila Prem Nahi More Preet. If the love is, Shaitila means diminished by the overarching understanding of God's Godhood or His Bhagavata, then that mood is not as pleasing, and certainly that is not a mood in which you can enter into Brajadam, the Nitya Brajadam, eternal pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Therefore, in the sequence even of the 9 processes of bhakti, it is understood that dasya means visesh dasyam, and sakyam here indicates a sense of intimacy. You understand? A particular mood of braj, like sakya rasa, vatsalya rasa, especially madhurya rasa, and especially in the line of Mahaprabhu Manjari Bhav. This is the facts regarding that. It's not that every single person may be in Manjari Bhav. I'm saying this is the generic line of Mahaprabhu, the prominent line, right? And then Atmanivedan means upon realization of that particular intimate mood of service, Atmanivedanam, when you realize yourself as that, giving yourself to Krishna fully, that is called the 9 processes of bhakti. I spoke about the Panchamrit also yesterday. Panchamrit, not speaking for Abhishek here, but Panchamrit that was described by Raghunath Das Goswami Manasiksha, that Nam Kirtan Sadhu Sangha Bhagavat Shravan Mathura Vashri Murtai Shradai Sevan. So in order to practice bhakti in Visesh Sambandha Gyan, then one has to, Nam Kirtan is the methodology for everything, because Nam Namakari Bahu Nija Sava Shaktis, everything is present in name. So as the chitta becomes purified, right, that Nam taken in Sadhu Sangha will give rise to hearing Bhagavat Shravan. When Bhagavat Shravan is heard properly in the association of a sadhu, a particular Viseshu Lashmayipi, Rupa Goswami described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a particular Viseshu Las in a particular mood will arise. And there, Raghunath Das Goswami saying there, after that mood arises, one should have the Sambandha Gyan, Mathuravas. I'm a Brijavasi. Mathuravas really means Brajvas. I'm Brijavasi. And in that mood, one should do Sri Murtaya Shradai Sevan. Serve your Takaji in that mood. Right? Following the rules and regulations. You don't have to try to imitate something artificial. In the Padati on how to do Archan, everything is mentioned there. You follow those things with the internal mood of Braj. You understand? So this is how the sequence of the mantras work. This is the meaning that I spoke the other day of Sambandha Gyan in relation to the mantras. And hopefully this was helpful to you in understanding. Again, we cannot be shy in guru-disciple relationship. Because these things are important, then it's imperative on us, because sometimes there's a general idea, just get the mantra, get the piece of paper, and just practice and do service and everything will just work itself out. But if that was the case, we would not have the voluminous writings of our acharyas explaining all of these things. And it's actually kind of indirectly aparad to say what they've all written and spent so much time to give us is really not necessary. Just practice and just chant the mantra, don't worry about it, it'll all just shake out in the end. Right? So this is not the process for bona fide acceptance of initiation. Bona fide acceptance of initiation, the giving of Harinam, and then the Diksha mantras which create relationship with Harinam, that should be explained to the disciple in full. Some people relate that Srila Prabhupada did not do it, but actually that's not true. Srila Prabhupada explained the mantras throughout the voluminous writings that he did to benefit the entire world. You understand? Now the question is, having someone who can explain the depth of those writings of Srila Prabhupada to explain your mantras to you. You understand? This is the idea. Because some people say, well, no, Srila Prabhupada didn't really take time to go into a lot of detail and bring each individual disciple. But Srila Prabhupada, first of all, he had the capacity of heart to relate to every single disciple, thousands of them individually. Not everybody has that capacity. We should not mistake that. That is called being a sane Patti Bhakta. Sane Patti means like a general. A general in an army has commissions and potencies and powers that are not there in the rank and file or even in other officers that lead up to the highest position like generals or admirals, etc. right? I did have some time in the military. But anyway, in the case of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, or others, they're like sane Patibhaktas. And their commission and ability to operate with a certain empowerment, like to be able to personally relate to thousands of disciples and make them all feel personal, that's a very unique feature. That's not there in everyone. Therefore, the warning is do not take too many disciples. Rupa Goswami had one disciple, Jiva Goswami. Sanatana Goswami had one disciple, Rupa Goswami. You understand? Narottam Das Thakur, on the other hand, he had quite a few disciples. But the general principle is one should not take too many disciples. Srila Prabhupada also, one of the most important and most often quoted verses in his writings are Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tava Pavartan. Unless one has a special kind of empowerment, this kind of service cannot be done. You understand? So we cannot imitate those positions or go on the basis of a kind of status quo based around simple observation. Like we observed that this is how Srila Prabhupada operated, so this is how we'll operate. Our capacity is not like Srila Prabhupada. So, therefore, it's important to ask Sri Guru, "Oh, Srila Gurudev, please explain the mantras because they're integral in my relationship to Harinam." And it's not just a matter of things automatically happening. Because you can see that after 10, 20, 30, 40 years sometimes, devotees don't have clear conceptions. What is the mantra? What am I doing? How am I practicing? So forth, so on. Right? All right, so humbly and hopefully this was somewhat helpful. And I'm going to end here. All right, my Dandavat Pranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhaveva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.